If you've ever worked with Next.js, you might have noticed they recommend using their custom image component instead of the regular HTML IMG tag. But what's wrong with the good old IMG? Is it just hype, or does it actually make a difference? Today I'm going to show you what really happens under the hood when you use the Next.js image component. And trust me, once you see the optimization magic it's doing for your images, you will never want to go back. So before we get started, please hit the like button and subscribe to the web school so you don't miss my next tutorials. So right in front of us, we have a Next.js project that I'm going to use to show you how much better your performance is going to be if you use those image elements. At the top here, we have this hero image, and down here we have many images for the products. These are being fetched from an external API. Let's get started with the hero image. I'm going to right click and go to inspect. And if we hover over the name of the file, we can see that this is actually a very, very large image file. It has a total size of 6.7 megabytes, and the intrinsic size is 4317 by 1581 pixels, which is enormous. Now, if we take a look up here at the rendered size, we can see that in the screen dimension, we would only need 815 by 298, but we are loading the full image anyway. And this is also a JPEG, which is not the recommended format for modern web applications. This image by itself, even if everything else was optimized in this page, would drag all performance metrics down to the floor. But this is not the only problem in this page. If we go to the Network tab and we select Images, we can see that when we refresh the page, we are transferring 7.3 megabytes of images, which, like I mentioned, is way more than what we should have. We have 14 requests, and we can see that all the products are being loaded on page load, even when they are not visible. And here we can see the file type. This is the hero image, which is a JPEG, and the rest of the product images are PNGs, which again is not ideal. Now, if we go to the Next.js documentation and we search for image, we can see that when we use the next image component, we are going to have all these features out of the box for image optimization. So first, we are going to automatically serve the correctly sized images for each device using modern formats like WebP. So forget about that very big intrinsic size I showed you. Another thing we are going to have is visual stability, because Next.js is going to calculate the space needed for the image, so we are not going to have any layout shifts. Apart from that, we are going to lazy load all the images, so they are loaded only when they enter the viewport. So let's see if all of this is going to work just by changing the HTML element. So going back to Visual Studio Code, this is the product card. So I'm going to change the IMG for the Next.js image component. We can see at the top here, I already imported it. Let's do the same thing for the hero section. So just by replacing the old IMG HTML tag by the Next.js image element, let's see what's going to happen. Let's go back there. Now let's load the page again. And here we can already see some changes. We can see that the image is being lazy loaded by default. And when we hover over it, we can see that now the intrinsic size is only 1200 by 439. We can also see a file size of 39 kilobytes, which is insanely small. Remember that the size of the original image was more than 6 megabytes, so this is a huge difference. Now, without having to compress or resize these images, we already have a massive improvement in performance just by using the image element. Now, let me change this to an iPhone. So I'm going to use iPhone 12 Pro for this example. I'm going to go to the Network tab, refresh the page, and now as you can see, not only the types have all changed to WebP, which is the recommended format to optimize the performance of your page. But we can now see that we are only doing 4 requests on page load for a total size of 386 kilobytes. So look how much we gained in performance just by using these elements. And now what happens to the rest of the product images? They're going to be loaded only when we need them. So once we start scrolling down the page, we can see that the requests for the next product images are going to be done while we keep scrolling down the page. Another thing you will notice when you use this element is that by setting the width and the height as attributes, Next.js is going to calculate the space needed for the image, so you are not going to have any layout shifts. For example, if we change the throttling here to a fast 4G, which is going to make the image take a bit more time to load, let's try it out. We can see that the space for the image is already reserved from page load, which means that we don't have any layout shifts. Let's try again. We can see a blank space calculated by Next.js and no layout shifts when the image is loaded. So that was all for this video. I hope these simple examples were enough to show you how much you can gain in terms of performance if you use the image component from Next.js. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.